But tell us about your paths to sociology and in particular sort of like Black feminist sociology. Like what was your undergraduate? How'd you get here? I'm just curious.
Sure, I'll jump in first. Um, and one of the things we talked about when writing Black feminist sociology is I felt a little bit like an outsider because I wasn't someone who had come into sociology studying gender or intersectionality. So I really thought of myself as a race scholar, and that was like my training. And so I was like, am I the right person to do this? Am I sort of an imposter in this space, which I love and I want to seek out? But is it me? And it was great to have Black women like affirm me through all of those like moments of insecurity. Um, but then it was through reflecting that I realized it was always there in ways that hadn't noticed. And one, I think, were like showing up for the community or were the ethics. So even if I wasn't studying that per se, I did have, thankfully, Black feminist ethics sort of to be at the kitchen table, how we talk about throughout my academic career and my personal life. Um, but then walking back, I was thinking about the ways that I started to learn about sociology. I had my one Black teacher in high school was a Black woman who taught this class called anthropology/sociology. And it was like very like random in terms of the curriculum in some ways, but also like clearly spoke to me. And I didn't know I didn't go into anthropology or sociology when I started college, but I found sociology and it like called me back. And I'm like, if if I didn't have that early exposure, maybe not. And then I was taking classes, but in FM studies by Black women, about Black women, like reading Phyllis Wheatley in undergrad, all these things. So I was like,
Sure.
it was showing up and I didn't know, I didn't have a name for it. Until I realized and got deeper what that looked like. It's much more expansive. We talk about expansiveness in the article a lot, but it's much more expansive than I thought. And so I realized I really had to shed that sort of outsider in terms of that discipline. It's not just you have to be solely in studying gender or intersectionality. I say gender because that's what it was. Like back in the day, it was
Right.
gender.
Mhm.
And so that was like my journey to understanding that, okay, I do fit squarely. And so, yeah, in my bios now, I am a Black feminist sociologist. Like that is part of who I am.
Okay. Dr. Luna.
Yeah, and so I came at it from like being raised by a Black feminist who was active in different sort of spaces. I still remember going to, I think, half price books on Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley, and my mom like getting books for me, and I was like, why is this person's name lowercase, right? And that was like bell hook,
Ah,
right? Like,
the bell hook.
I can see that, and you're like,
Yeah, yeah,
just read it, right?
yeah,
Like at a
yeah.
very young age. And so in that sense, I had exposure and I did my undergrad, so I was telling some people last week, I actually went to undergrad to UC Davis studying to be a dietitian. That's a long story, although it's partially a story about being like very practical. And like,
Yes, yes.
I liked food. But I was always taking classes to sort of balance out the chemistry and the bio. So I was taking
Mhm.
English and gender studies, a few social classes here and there. And then I met OChem and we did not have a very good relationship. And it was, yeah, I thought, I might need to shift my major.
I'll
And I
do
ended up
it.
switching to women in gender studies,
That'll do it.
and an
That
English minor.
organic
Yeah.
chemistry changes lives.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yay for the people for whom they can do those 8 a.m. OChem labs, but that was not me at the time.
Right.
But I was working at like the Campus Women's Center as an intern at the time, working on the African American Quarterly newspaper, like doing all these things that once I switched my major, people were like, oh yeah, yeah, we knew. And I was like, why didn't you tell me? I didn't have to spend multiple years like doing, suffering through this other set of classes. But it's important for you to, for us to find our own pathways, right? And yeah, so then for grad school, I mostly considered social programs, but there was a new joint program at Michigan at the time in sociology and women's studies. It although the folks who graduated were like traditionally successful in the sense of everyone got academic jobs for a range of reasons, they could not sustain the program.
Mhm, mhm.
So if you try to look it up, like people are like, wait, where is it? I'm like, it does not exist anymore. But through that program at Michigan, I met the professor who would eventually become my co-chair, Elizabeth Cole, who you all,
Oh, yes,
yeah,
of course. Yeah.
yeah. So that is both the sort of personal and then sort of academic
Mhm,
exposures that got me to sociology and Black feminist sociology sort of formally.
And we are richer for your path.